You finally decide it is time to sell the big family house, buy something smaller, and enjoy your retirement. But instead of walking away with a comfortable nest egg, the IRS hands you a surprise tax bill that averages $24,000 and in many cases completely drains your savings. You are not alone in this nightmare, and today we are going to expose exactly why downsizing your home in retirement has secretly become one of the most dangerous financial traps in America. The reality is that the wealth you spent 4 decades patiently building inside the walls of your home is under attack from a system that penalizes you for moving. So many of us are told that downsizing is the ultimate retirement hack. You get rid of the empty bedrooms, cut down on the exhausting yard maintenance, and unlock a massive pile of cash to travel, cover medical expenses, or spoil the grandchildren. But what the glossy financial brochures and eager real estate agents completely fail to tell you is that the government has quietly built a web of hidden taxes, stealth surcharges, and assessment traps specifically designed to siphon away your home equity the moment you try to access it. Here at Seniors Avenue, our entire mission is to protect you from these exact kinds of predatory financial landmines. Over the next few minutes, we are going to break down the specific traps waiting for you. We will start by exposing the devastating capital gains trap that catches millions off guard. Then we will uncover the shocking Medicare surcharges triggered by a home sale. And finally, we will reveal the ultimate, heartbreaking mistake that could cost your surviving spouse their entire financial security. Let us start with what should be a simple concept, but has actually become a devastating financial minefield for retirees: the capital gains tax trap. Decades ago, the government created a rule called the Section 121 exclusion. This rule sounds incredibly generous on the surface. It states that if you are single, you can exclude up to $250,000 of profit from the sale of your primary residence. And if you are married filing jointly, you can exclude up to $500,000 of profit. For a long time, this protected almost every middle-class family in the country. But here is the massive problem that no one is warning you about. Those exclusion limits were set back in 1997, and they have never once been adjusted for inflation. Not once. Think about what you paid for your home 30 or 40 years ago. Perhaps you bought a modest 4-bedroom home in a nice neighborhood in the late 1980s for $80,000. You spent the next 30 years paying off the mortgage, sacrificing vacations, and putting every spare dollar into that property. Today, because of massive inflation and wild housing market booms, that exact same house might be worth $800,000 or more. If you and your spouse sell that home today to downsize, you have $720,000 of profit. The government generously allows you to exclude $500,000, leaving you with $220,000 of fully taxable capital gains. Depending on your income bracket and state taxes, that could immediately trigger a tax bill of $30,000 to $40,000, instantly wiping out a massive chunk of the money you desperately needed to secure your smaller retirement home. And if you are single or widowed, your exclusion is cut in half, making the penalty even more severe. The very system that encouraged you to invest in a home is now punishing you for holding on to it. Did you know that the median home price in America has nearly quadrupled since 1990? Take a moment to think about what that staggering statistic means for your own potential tax liability. But the direct tax on your home sale is only the beginning of the nightmare. The second major trap waiting to spring on you is entirely invisible to most retirees until it is too late, and it happens at the pharmacy counter. It is called the Medicare Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amounts, or IRMAA for short. Medicare premiums are not the same for everyone. They are strictly tied to your income. Specifically, the government looks at your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years prior to determine what you will pay for Medicare Part B, which covers your doctor visits, and Medicare Part D, which covers your prescription drugs. When you sell your family home and realize a massive capital gain, even if part of it is excluded, the taxable portion gets dumped directly onto your tax return for that year. Suddenly, on paper, you look incredibly wealthy to the IRS. You might be a retired school teacher living on a modest fixed income and Social Security, but in the year you downsize, your tax return makes you look like a Wall Street executive. Because of this artificial spike in your income, Medicare will hit you with the IRMAA surcharge. Your monthly premiums for Part B and Part D can literally double or triple. Instead of paying the standard premium of around $174 a month, you could suddenly be forced to pay over $500 a month per person. For a married couple, this stealth tax can easily drain an extra $8,000 to $10,000 from your savings over the course of the year. And the most frustrating part is that this penalty hits you exactly when you are most vulnerable, right after you have gone through the massive physical and financial stress of moving. You sold your home to lower your expenses, and the government responds by doubling your healthcare costs. You might be thinking that even with these taxes and surcharges, moving to a smaller house will still save you money every month because your property taxes will drop. This leads us directly into the third trap, the property tax reset. Many seniors live in states or counties that offer some form of property tax protection for long-term homeowners. The most famous example is Proposition 13 in California, but many other states have homestead exemptions or senior freezes that cap how much your property taxes can increase each year, regardless of how much the actual value of your home skyrockets. Because you have lived in your home for decades, your property taxes are likely based on an assessed value that is a fraction of what your home is actually worth today. You might be living in an $800,000 home, but paying taxes as if it were still worth $200,000. When you sell that home and buy a smaller $500,000 condo, you lose that protected status. The new condo is assessed at current market value. Retirees are constantly shocked to discover that the property taxes on their new, much smaller home are actually 2 or 3 times higher than the taxes they were paying on their massive family estate. You downsized to save money, but your monthly tax burden just exploded. You have permanently surrendered the single greatest financial advantage you had, your locked-in, decades-old property tax assessment. But as frustrating and terrifying as these unexpected tax hikes and Medicare surcharges are, they are nothing compared to the devastating widow penalty I am going to reveal at the end of this discussion. You absolutely must understand this critical estate planning concept before signing any real estate paperwork, or you risk leaving your family with nothing. Before we get to that ultimate warning, we have to look at the immediate bleed of your wealth through hidden moving and transaction costs. The sheer friction of real estate transactions in America is designed to siphon off your equity. When you sell your home, you are immediately hit with real estate agent commissions, which typically consume 5 to 6% of the sale price. On an $800,000 home, that is $48,000 completely gone before you even pack a single box. Then come the closing costs, title insurance, transfer taxes, and the inevitable repairs the buyer will demand after the inspection. Once the transaction is finally over, you have to physically move. Moving a lifetime of possessions is not just physically exhausting, it is astonishingly expensive. Professional packers and movers for a large family home can easily cost $10,000 to $15,000. And then comes the hidden emotional and financial toll of making your old life fit into a new space. The massive dining room table where you hosted Thanksgiving for 20 years will not fit in the new condo. The custom curtains, the oversized living room furniture, the heavy bedroom sets, they all have to go. You end up selling your high-quality solid wood furniture for pennies on the dollar at an estate sale, only to turn around and spend thousands of dollars buying new, smaller furniture that actually fits in your downsized home. When you add up the real estate commissions, the closing costs, the moving fees, the new furniture, the capital gains taxes, and the Medicare surcharges, that massive pile of cash you thought you were unlocking by downsizing completely vanishes. You have gone through 6 months of intense physical and emotional stress, given up the home you loved, and mathematically you are barely any further ahead than when you started. Have you ever tried to calculate the exact true cost of replacing your current lifestyle in a smaller footprint? The math almost never works in favor of the retiree. This brings us to the absolute most critical point of this entire discussion, the stealth trap that destroys generational wealth and ruins surviving spouses. We call it the loss of the step-up in basis. This is the single biggest reason why you should think twice and then think a third time before ever selling your home in retirement. Under current tax law, if you hold on to your highly appreciated family home until you pass away, the IRS forgives all of the capital gains tax. Let me repeat that because it is the most powerful tax loophole available to the middle class. If you die owning the home, the tax basis of the property is automatically stepped up to the current fair market value on the day of your death. Imagine you bought that house for $80,000 and it is now worth $800,000. If you sell it while you were alive to downsize, you have to pay massive taxes on that $720,000 gain. But if you hold on to the house and pass it to your children, the IRS acts as if your children bought the house for $800,000. If they sell it the very next day for $800,000, they pay zero capital gains tax. Zero. The entire tax liability is wiped clean forever. But it is not just about your children, it is about protecting your spouse. In many states, especially community property states, when one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse gets a full or partial step up in basis. If you and your spouse are struggling with the upkeep of the big house, the absolute worst thing you can do financially is sell it while you are both alive and relatively healthy. If you force the sale to downsize, you trigger all the taxes and penalties we just discussed. If you can manage to stay in the home, perhaps by using a tiny fraction of your savings to hire a lawn service or a house cleaner, and wait until one spouse inevitably passes, the surviving spouse can then sell the home completely tax-free. By selling too early to achieve the illusion of a simpler downsized life, you are voluntarily volunteering to pay the government tens of thousands of dollars that you never actually had to pay. You are robbing your surviving spouse of their safety net, and you are robbing your children of their inheritance, all to live in a slightly smaller box. The pressure to downsize is everywhere. Your kids might be telling you the house is too big. Real estate agents are certainly knocking on your door, eager for a commission. Financial articles constantly preach the virtues of minimalist retirement living. But your home is not just a building. It is a complex financial shelter. It protects you from inflation. It shields you from sudden property tax spikes. And it holds the ultimate trump card against the IRS through the step-up in basis. To summarize what we have uncovered today, downsizing is rarely the financial saving grace it is made out to be. First, you run headfirst into the outdated capital gains exclusion limits, triggering massive, unexpected tax bills on the equity you spent a lifetime building. Second, that sudden realization of income artificially inflates your tax return, causing the government to punish you with crippling Medicare IRMAA surcharges that can double your healthcare costs exactly when you need that money the most. Third, you surrender your heavily protected, decades-old property tax assessments, often ending up with a higher monthly tax bill on a much smaller property. Fourth, the sheer friction of the real estate machine, the broker fees, closing costs, staging, and moving expenses will quietly eat away 20% or more of your equity before the dust even settles. And finally, by choosing to sell while you are still alive, you completely forfeit the ultimate wealth protection tool, the step up in tax basis, unnecessarily exposing your surviving spouse and your heirs to devastating taxes that could have been entirely legally avoided simply by staying put. You worked your entire life to build the safety and security of your family home. Do not let the false promise of an easier, downsized life trick you into handing your hard-earned wealth back to the IRS. I know many of you are currently wrestling with this exact decision right now, trying to balance the physical burden of a large house against these terrifying financial realities. I want to hear your story. Please go down to the comments right now and tell me, are you feeling pressured to downsize? And after hearing the real numbers today, has your perspective changed? Your experiences help everyone in this community make smarter, safer decisions. Share your thoughts below and let us continue protecting each other.